Welcome to the Boardroom. I'm Ros Gold-Onwude, and I'm here with Nick Nurse, head coach of the Raptors. Coach, how you doing? How are you staying sane right now?
I'm good. First of all, great to see you. Just like everybody else, staying in, enjoying the family time, enjoying the out of the hustle and bustle life. So, listen, we're praying like crazy for world health and that we can all get moving around a little bit, and hopefully basketball will be a part of that pretty soon. But just making the most of it so far, staying positive.
Absolutely. There's a lot of power in positive thoughts and intentions. Absolutely. When people think of you, Nick, they think of the Toronto Raptors. They think of that championship in 2019. But your journey to this point has been very unique and very hardworking. And there's multiple paths to becoming a head coach. But your path was not the video intern that spent years in the same organization. Your path was not that of a star NBA player who became a coach. So just humor me, please. Can you actually just name, I just want the names
Okay.
of all the different teams you've coached and leagues you've been a part of?
Okay, I'll try. I started out as a student assistant at the University of Northern Iowa. Then I coached in Derby, England. Then I came back and coached Grandview University. Then I went back to England, coached the Birmingham Bullets. I went to Belgium, coached Sun Air of Ostend, Belgium. I went to the Manchester Giants in England, London Towers in England, Brighton Bears in England. Then I came back and coached the Iowa Energy in the D League, then the Rio Grande Valley Vipers in the D League, now G League, and then I got hired as an assistant for the Raptors. Straightforward.
Right. Just
Straightforward, yeah, straightforward.
Coach, I know you won't brag for yourself, so I'll tell them. It wasn't like he was just bouncing around from team to team. Basically, Coach Nurse, you've been able to win at nearly a championship at nearly every level. Two-time British Basketball League championships in '96 and 2000. Two-time D-League championship, now G-League championships in 2011 and 2013. Obviously, a one-time NBA champion last season with the Raptors. You've also been Coach of the Year at just about every level you've been at. Two-time BBL Coach of the Year, 2000, 2004. The D-League Coach of the Year in 2011. And honestly, Coach, people would say you could have been a favorite for Coach of the Year for this NBA season. Obviously, it's being postponed. But the key is the success across levels. So what is consistent across winning championships at any level?
Well, Roz, I think I'm going to give you probably a pretty simple answer. I see my job as this. I see as first and foremost to get guys to envision themselves as being champions, maybe even see themselves as better than they even see themselves, first of all. Try to play really hard, right? Playing hard still counts, and giving your maximum effort still counts for a lot. Try to play a lot of defense. We really focus in on defense, but it's true what they say, that defense wins championships. And then really try to share the ball on offense, and that creates chemistry. It creates some togetherness. It creates some toughness. All the things that are necessary to win a championship. But I think the biggest thing, Roz, is we try to get out of bed every day, and you know what we're dreaming about? We're dreaming about holding that trophy up at the end of the year. And I think you start out with that at the beginning of the year, and you just stick with that and work your way through any of the pitfalls and ride the waves a little bit, and just keep that as your dream. And luckily last year we were able to get there.
How do you empower players? Because you mentioned making them feel like they're talented, perhaps even more than what they are.
Well, first and foremost, I see it. I don't see them as them playing for me. Right. I see us as us working together. I want to hear their ideas. I want to hear their dreams and visions of how they see their game or their career, or hear their goals and aspirations. And then, let that turn in my head a little bit and try to help them develop a plan, because I think, it certainly starts with a vision, but if you want to accomplish something, you got to have a plan. And that's what I try to do. I try to communicate with them. I try to listen to them, try to create a plan for them to play their best, put them in situations to succeed. And we get there, we set a new goal, and just keep pushing a little bit, because I think that improvement continues throughout your entire career, right? Like Kyle Lowry would be a great example. People say he's getting up there, but he just keeps getting better and better and better. Marc Gasol keeps getting better and better. Serge keeps getting better and better. You know, those guys have been around a while. So I think we always are striving to just keep getting better and again, putting in great effort and keeping our team goals in front of us.
What do you do in that situation, Coach, where your vision for the team is not necessarily the same as that player's vision for themselves, and you've got to deliver some disappointing news?
Well, Ros, I think that you start with understanding that that's a real reality, right? There's a lot of kind of things mixing together here. You know, you got the team's goals and aspirations. Obviously, you've got individuals that are striving, you know, for lots of things. They're striving for a paycheck, contract, an all-star team, all NBA team, or whatever. You know, they've got individual goals that maybe don't necessarily line up 100% of the time with the team. So you kind of accept that, first of all, and just understand that you're kind of massaging those things at all times. But I always say this, I hold a real short meeting usually to start every year and say, we got two goals. One's to win, and two is to increase your value in the marketplace. And we keep those two things, you know, really closely together, because I think if we concentrate on, you know, individually increasing everybody's value in the marketplace, then the winning will hopefully follow suit.
As you developed, what became your coaching style? How would you describe it?
Well, I mean, I think it's pretty simple. Like, I really believe in being aggressive, right? I think you got to go after, you know, defensively, you got to go after people and try to pressure and, you know, create turnovers and be really, really sound defensively. And then the same, when we get the ball, man, we're coming at you. You know, we want to, it's not like we're trying to play 1,000 miles an hour, but we're going to try to attack you and score early and put you in rotations early. And we like to kind of give guys a lot of confidence to shoot the ball, right? Like, if you're open, man, take it. We get, you know, it's like green light mania. We hand out a lot of green light passes to everybody. We want them to shoot the ball with confidence. And that's pretty much it. And I just think that, we tried to develop a system where we do it together, and there's chemistry and, like I said, toughness and all that stuff. And that's what it takes, you know.
All those green lights, it sounds fun to play for you.
I hope so. You got, you know, you got to be, feel like you're taking the right shots, right? If you're going to make them, I think.
Demeanor wise, though, how do you approach talking and delivering messaging to NBA players, especially within the game itself?
Well, Roz, I would say this, I try to live by, that my voice is a finite resource, right? I don't like to speak too much. You know, I like to deliver. I like to let my coaches coach and let the players play. I mean, obviously, when I gotta, you know, say something or whatever, you know, get a little stern, I guess maybe I'll do it. But you know, NBA players they want you to put them in positions to succeed. They want great game plans. You got to be able to think on your feet. This game's moving a million miles an hour. You know, they want good timeouts. They want drawn up plays, and then they're going to play. I mean, they want to be coached, but you better be ready to coach them. And I think spending all that time getting ready, you know, 1,000 games before I got to the NBA probably, and at least another 1,000 pickup games, you know, somewhere I was coaching in some tryout camp or Basketball Without Borders or EuroLeague All-Stars or whatever. Any chance, if you give me a team, I'd coach it back in the day. And I think I was just trying to develop those things, quick decisions, chemistry, making substitutions, calling timeouts, all those things.
What's your strategy on delegation of roles with your assistant coaches? Because I know each head coach has a different one.
Yeah, I do it a little differently, I think. I mean, listen, I love to let my guys coach, right? I think that that's what they're there for, and we got some unbelievable assistants and really qualified guys. All three of my front of the bench guys will probably be head coaches in the NBA someday. So I let them use their talents. We do a little differently. We split it into three things: offense, defense, and special teams. And those guys are in charge of those areas, and then we rotate it around after 10 or 12, 14 games. We switch, and each coach takes a new area, and then we get through a few rotations, and then we get back to, you know, once we get to the playoffs, we kind of get it back to what we feel is most comfortable.
Okay, cool. And you know, when we talk about coaching and legendary coaches and influences. Right now with the MJ doc going on, there's a lot of conversation about those Bulls teams of legend.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you had the chance to spend some time with
Yeah.
Phil Jackson. So tell me about that time you spent with Phil.
Well, first of all, Roz, there's a little bit of a backstory to it, okay? And I'll try to make this quick. So when I first went to England in 95, 96, I was young, 26, 27 years old, and I was really going there to study, to learn how to be a coach. And this is pre-internet, and was not a lot of basketball on TV in England. So I was fortunate enough, I found a company in Germany, Switzerland, that made VHS tapes of NBA games, and I ordered the Bulls game. So every Friday I'd get a couple VHS tapes in the mail of the Bulls games, the regular season games. It'd be 2 games on each tape, so I get about 4 games every Friday. And my team was I was studying the triangle offense. I was running the triangle, and literally there was nothing on. There was no internet. Can you imagine? I mean, I was watching those games, each game like 10 or 12 times. And what I ended up doing was really studying Phil, like how he subbed, how he called timeouts, his demeanor, just anything I could learn. He was my mentor way back then, but he didn't know it. I'd never met him. But when I got this job, Alex McKechnie, who's our vice president, head of sports science for the Raptors, worked with Phil Jackson in LA for 5 years, for 5 championships there, and said, "You want me to put you in touch with Phil?" And I said, "Great," and called him up and said, "I'd like to come out and visit." So we went out to Montana for 3 days, and it was interesting. I really didn't know if I just booked 3 days. I didn't really know if we were going for a 1-hour cup of coffee or what was going to happen. And if we did, I was just going to relax and regroup a little bit, but end up having coffee. Then we got in his truck and drove around for 2 or 3 hours. And then we went to dinner, and the next morning, breakfast, lunch, and we ended up spending like 10, 12 hours a day together for 3 straight days. And it was really, really special for me. Just like, almost like a dream for me, really, read all his books and watched all his tapes. I ran the triangle for something like 8 or 9 years. So I was really a disciple of his without ever really meeting him until last summer. Really cool for me.
Awesome. Good for you. What happened in those 10 to 12 hours you spent with him each day?
Yeah, it was really, really cool. Mostly just, I just wanted to get his feel for leadership and just anything I could glean from it. I had a list of questions. I didn't get through a ton of them, but when I'd ask him a question, it was a lot of basketball history. And I don't know, felt like maybe he was testing me a little bit to see what kind of basketball historian I was, but it was good. Because I am. I'm a basketball geek enough to go way back and know a lot of players and coaches and things like that. So it was just fun. We talked a lot of basketball. We talked leadership. He gave me some really good specific advice about, coaching a team and coaching a team that has a chance to win it.
Can you tell me what was that specific advice? I'm curious.
Well, there's some stuff I probably wouldn't want to share, but I'll tell you one thing, he's he's got this spiritual background, right? It's, the sacred hoops, and he talked a lot about the basketball gods, and he told me, you got to understand that your job is to make the best decision for the organization. When there's tough decisions to make, you got to understand that your rule number 1 is you got to make the best decision for the organization. And that's not always going to be easy. You have to stand in there and make those tough decisions. And he said, if you don't, then the basketball gods are going to get you. So that was one thing. And I think it really applies, right? There's times like we talked about earlier that, that there's things going on individually with players and it isn't quite fitting in with the team mojo at the time. And you're going to have to once in a while stand in there and do your job. That's what the job is. So that was one of the things, but just tons of, we X and O'd, talked a lot of defense, talked a lot of pressure defense. But it was, I don't know, it was just really, really enjoyable for me to be able to tell him that I studied him and the whole time, and be able to kind of look him in the eye. And we stayed in touch throughout the year too. It was great. He had some great conversations and great advice during the season last year.
I actually wanted to follow up with that. So how did he tap in with you during the season? Was it more just like a great win, coach, or was it you would reach out with a question, or he would give his own advice, with whether it was solicited or not?
Yeah. So let me work backwards. So when we won the championship game 6 at Golden State, one of the first texts was from him that I got on my phone, and it just said champs with a little trophy by it. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, no, most of the time I would text him, just see how he was, and we'd talk. And then every now and then, yeah, he'd send a text, like after one playoff game, he sent a text, "What happened to your offense?" or something like that. So he was he was still coaching. He's still coaching. It was really great, though. Really, really, really fortunate and lucky to have him. I call him a mentor, I call him a friend now, and it's really special for me.
Absolutely. And now as you look at your coaching career, Phil Jackson had a number of superstars, but he had MJ. Your superstar, the biggest one I would say so far, is Kawhi Leonard. And it's a different kind of beast. Kawhi Leonard came to you from a Spurs situation that he was hurt from. So what did it take for both of you to trust each other in such a quick span of time, also knowing just how hurt Kawhi was coming in?
Yeah, I mean, I think really good question, and it's a interesting. It was one quick season. Those seasons fly by. I was a new rookie head coach. He didn't know me. I'd never talked to him before. I think, Roz, it takes some time to develop that relationship, and I just, from my standpoint, I would talk to him about, here's how I see things, and he'd tell me how he saw things, and I'd kind of feed off of that. And I just, I was going to do what I really believed in, and I guess I had to prove myself a little bit, to him, and just like to the other guys, it's just kind of the way it is. And I think eventually we got there, and there was a trust that we built up between each other, and he was amazing. I was surprised, to be honest, that we got it, that he was playing as much as he was early on. I mean, I had no idea what to expect. He hadn't played in over a year, and I was comfortable with easing into it, and I thought we were getting more out of him than I was expected early, even though we were load managing and all those things that were going on. So I was happy with the progress we were making right from the start, and I knew it was going to build and build, and it was fascinating to watch him operate, because he was he's a great player, a tremendous pro. It was really, really fascinating to watch him just go get that, help us get that title, and all the things he was doing, and his great composure and his toughness and his shot making, and just a real special talent.
One thing that stood out to me, you said I had to prove myself.
Mm-hmm.
How does a coach prove himself to players?
Well, I think just the stuff I mentioned, Roz, I think, again, the guys want to know, are you making the right decisions? Are you playing the right guys? Are you doling out the minutes correctly? Is your system good? Is your defensive philosophy good? How are we going to get to do this stuff? And are your game plans good? And, there's hundreds of things. I could go on and on and on and on. And you just, I think, again, we talked about the route I took to get to be a head coach. I did all that stuff. It was probably a 1 in 10,000 chance that I was ever going to get the opportunity, but if I did, I wanted to be ready. And I think I was ready. I was pretty sure on how I wanted things to run on both ends of the floor. And like I said, I even though I was a rookie coach, I had over 1,000 games under my belt as a head coach. So it didn't take me long to get back in the swing of things.
It seems like, you've got to be confident, as it is with any person in any craft. Now, there's different entities of a team. You're navigating kind of what you want to see your team do to be successful. You've also got an executive staff that's also, trying to make sure to take care of players and manage their top priorities and their biggest assets. And of course, your storyline was a big one with load management, with Kawhi, but yours is not the only one. It's a conversation now for many coaches around the NBA, and it'll probably continue to be so.
Yeah.
What is that like as a coach in the modern NBA, where you're trying to navigate what you want to see from your team on the floor versus load managing players?
Well, I think that again, my training and my background really gave me great experience. And as you well know, you'd be in the D League, and I remember one stretch in the D League. I think we were 30-6, and we just come off a 4-game West Coast road trip where we won every game by more than 30 points. Our team was really good. And I got
Mhm.
home, and 4 guys got called up. So I went, and all of a sudden, the team totally changed. Well, what do you do? Well, you cry for about 5 minutes, and then you get back to work, and you got the guys who are there for the next game, and you start preparing and planning to, and that's happening constantly. Guys coming in, guys coming out, and you just have to roll with it, right? So I think, it's kind of like this year. We've had so many injuries, and you just next man up, and you got to go, right? You can't wallow in anything because the ball's going up at 7 or 7:30, and you better give your best effort and be ready to go.
Coach, how do you connect with an introvert?
Well, I'm an introvert, so we get along really well. So you're probably asking me about Kawhi, right? Indirectly asking me about Kawhi.
I mean, it could be about
Yeah,
Kawhi. I feel like when we talk about superstars, there's a lot of big personalities that we
yeah.
know. How do you motivate an introvert or connect?
Well, I'll tell you my first meeting with Kawhi, okay, because I'd never met him, and you hear all the stories that and I didn't. He wasn't very happy, when he got traded here, and he ends up in Toronto, and I'm going in to meet him, and my game plan is I'm going to introduce myself, and if he doesn't say anything, I'm just going to start going through. I just got done interviewing for the job, so I was just going to kind of start telling him about my path and how I got the job and places I've been. I just keep on talking, but I asked him if he had any questions, and he started firing questions away right away. And before you know it, we were both up at the board drawing plays and talking about offense and all that kind of stuff. So um, I don't know if that's the answer to your question, but it's a cool story.
Story, and it's funny how an introvert, but there's power in the silence, right? He's got you thinking about how do I approach this man. My final Kawhi question really is, what did you eventually learn motivated Kawhi?
The winning the title was really all about. I mean, I was like in February and March, I was kind of watching the games, and I was like, this guy's getting like 30, and he's not even trying. I don't even think he's giving us his full effort right now. And I'm like, I'm wondering if there's going to be another gear he's going to go to. And obviously we saw it in the playoffs. So I thought that was interesting that he knows himself so well, and even during the course of games, there'd be times where he'd be like, I'd be like, hey, fourth quarter, 9 minutes to go. I'd be like, hey, it's time to go back in. And he's like, Coach, I need about another minute and a half. And then I'll be, he knew like in the course of which games, how much kind of he had to, and he'd go out there and play unbelievable for the last 8 minutes of the game or whatever. So again, just listening to him and letting, understanding, trust, and he's producing on the floor big time. So why wouldn't you trust him?
What other cues did he give you throughout a game about what he wanted to do and what he felt he could do?
Well, I always said this about him. It's unbelievable for the kind of level he's at. That he was always a guy who was locked in. He always had eye contact when I was talking, whether in the film room or in the locker room or in a timeout. And he was always one of those guys that, you'd be saying something, and he'd be nodding his head. And I was like, man, did that ever make me feel good when Kawhi was agreeing with what I was saying. So he always I thought that was kind of I was a silent but effective leadership cue for him to be that kind of that so attentive and locked in on all that stuff.
So moving on, Kawhi left.
Yep.
And he thought that the Raptors might disappear this season, or not have the same level of success, if you will.
Yep.
I want to focus specifically on the growth. What we saw was players improved. I want to focus specifically Fred VanVleet, OG Anunoby, and of course Pascal Siakam.
Yep.
What are the keys to identifying talent and developing talent within your own organization?
Well, first of all, those 3 guys that you just named were very, very good picks by our organization, right? I think they were surprising. Obviously Pascal late in the first, OG late in the first, and Fred as a free agent I mean, 5 minutes after the draft and he went undrafted, we, got him into our summer league team. So a couple things. I think that great character, all three of them, great motors. All of them can play all day, run all day, and guard and shoot and do all kinds of things. And that carries over to their daily work ethic as well, so they can improve. They got big engines, I would say. Tough-minded, team players, play both ends. A lot of good qualities out of those three guys. But biggest thing, like especially with Pascal and Fred, that I really admire, and you would get on this train too, is that they both played in the D League. When they were young and rookies, they both played in the D League, went down there and got better, came back up, and Pascal even asked to go down, because his minutes were dwindling. He just wanted to go play and work on his craft. That's one thing. And then I thought both of them, including Norman Powell this year too, they came back to campus, so to speak, totally different guys after winning that title. Like they just had a different swag about them. Not carried away. Just, man, they just seemed like they matured 5 years in one summer, and that's been a big reason for our success.
When you see franchises that have sustained success past, a season, it's always about the development of players within the organization. That's a sign of a healthy organization. And another reason why, certainly you were one of the contenders for Coach of the Year, the improvement of players. You're not just coaching the Toronto Raptors, you're also the head coach of the Canadian national team that was getting ready for the Olympics. Of course, yep. The Olympics has been pushed back a year. So this is kind of a two-part question. How are you multitasking two huge jobs? Yeah. And then two, is the pushback a year, is that a good thing for you, or did that really kind of shake you up, what you were trying to do?
Yeah, well, first of all, as you know, I coached in the backwaters my entire life, and now I've got two of the best jobs in the world at the same time. So that's pretty cool, right? I'm very, very, very fortunate about that. And yeah, it's a little bit of a juggling act at times with that two jobs, but great staff at the Canadian national team. Lots of help, get things lined up. Let's put it that way, and organizing things at the highest level. They really do a good job treating those national team players great. Well, I wanted to play this summer. Obviously, we had the Olympic qualifiers all set for Victoria, British Columbia, and then hopefully going on to Tokyo. But we're pretty young, so I think a year can't hurt us really. I think our guys will get better and stronger and a year older and wiser. So I think we'll be ready. We'll be ready next summer. We're looking forward to it.
And amongst the many things you're doing, soon we're going to have to call you Dr. Nurse, because you are close to completing your Ph.D. in what and why?
Well, I'm almost done. I got a dissertation to write. I'm about a third of the way through it, so hopefully I'll be done this fall. I don't know. I've always believed in learning for life and education. I went and got a master's degree while I was coaching at the University of South Dakota, and I plucked away at some things here and there overseas, and I found a program where I could do it all online. I figured when I was on the road as an assistant, give me something else to do on the road, and then I've got the head coaching job. It got a lot harder. The classwork got a lot harder, but we got all the classwork done now. So we're just finishing up. It's just, it's a PhD in philosophy with the emphasis in sports leadership. And I don't know, when my coaching days are over, maybe I'll become a online professor or something.
Oh, really?
Something to do. Yep.
You, sports psychologist, any interest?
I like it. I study that field a lot, but it's maybe a little outside of my realm.
How long have you been taking the coursework for online for the PhD?
4 years.
Wow.
Yeah, 4 years. Yeah.
That is such a load that you've been handling and managing. But I cannot wait. I need to know immediately when you get the PhD, because it's really important that we have to call you doctor.
You don't have to do that, but maybe we'll see.
And then in your other spare time, you also manage to play multiple instruments in bands. I'm missing anything?
That's it. Yeah, that's it. I'm probably a piano player and a real rookie at the guitar. Yeah, and I've been lucky enough that the Arkells, a Canadian band here has let me come up and play with them a couple times. So yeah, I'm far from a musician, but I love music, and I love trying to figure it out. It's a puzzle to me to try to figure out those two instruments, but I love trying, that's for sure.
Does your passion for music and your abilities as a musician, does that help you in coaching in any kind of way?
Well, I believe that it does, right? I don't know if it's true or not, but I believe it. So it helps me. I think I really like a couple things. One, it's I usually play a lot on the road. You know, I take something with me on the road, and it's a break from watching film all the time. But I hope it opens up some creative juices somewhere along the line, and it's what it's supposed to do. And I think it does for me. So it's part of the reason I kind of keep pushing towards doing it.
What kind of sounds musically are you into? Are you like a jazz guy, rock?
Yeah. Yeah, I got a lot. I mean, like everybody, I like a lot of things. It's growing daily, but I got a lot. I got a big jazz collection. I play a lot of blues on the piano. But everything pop, you know, everything.
Give me your 3 favorite artists.
Prince, without a doubt, number one. So, I love Damian Marley. Do you know Damian Marley? Welcome to Jam Rock, maybe one of the greatest albums of all time. And Thelonious Monk is a bebop piano player that changed the world of jazz music back in the day.
Awesome. What a list. What is more nerve-wracking? To step on the court to coach an NBA game, or to step on stage and perform as a musician?
Not even close. The going on stage for the musician thing, and the time. So the quick story is we won the title, right? And the Arkells were having a huge concert like 5 days later, and they called up and said, "Hey, you want to come up on stage and play?" And I was like, "No," and they kept calling, and I said, "Okay." I'd say I play one song, and we did a Stevie Wonder song called "Signed, Sealed, and Delivered," and I worked on it like crazy for like about 5 hours a day for 4 days leading into the concert, and it was the draft was that Thursday, and I woke up Saturday morning, the day of the concert, and was like, "I'm out." I called them, I said, "I'm out. I'm wiped out. I'm not doing it." I'm like, "No, come on over to the sound check," right? And so I said, "All right." So I go over there about 3 p.m. It's like 80 degrees and a beautiful sunny day, and I walk up there, and they throw a guitar on me, and they take off, and it is so awesome, right? It's like so loud, and it's so much. I said, "Okay, I'm back in. I'm in. I'll do it." And then the show, there was 17,000 people there, outdoor concert, and I was standing in the wings for side concert for about 2 hours before I finally, I almost got in my car and left about 10 times. I was so nervous, I swear to God, and went out there, and I do know I played pretty well during the sound check, and I have no idea how I played the night of the concert, because it was just like, whew, that place was going. It was really fun, really something.
I'm
Way
sure,
more nervous though.
I'm sure you've handled yourself. You've been in so many tough, competitive, high pressure, high stakes situations, even funny situations. Wait, you know what I want to know? Can you hear Drake talking to you during the games?
Oh yeah, sometimes. Yeah, sometimes I stop and I have conversations with him, but a lot of times when there's stuff going on, when the famous he gave me the mini back rub or whatever, I didn't even know that happened. Like the next day, everybody was sending me pictures of it, and I didn't even realize that was happening. And you've probably heard me say this before, but I said I was either really focused on the game or he's got really soft hands. I didn't I didn't even realize it, but that's
Has
it.
he ever said anything meaningful to you about basketball on the court? That because they mic'd him up one game, and I heard him saying "Nick," like trying to get your attention.
Well, he's always just giving me the, "Come on, man, get it, man," stuff like that. Those one-liner fire me up things. I'm fired up. Sometimes it just doesn't show in my face.
Have you hung out with Drake yet off the court, or that's not? It's just the.
No, that's not my. I'm like twice his age.
I think that's music, so maybe.
Not yet. Maybe someday.
Maybe a collaboration. Well, Coach, this was a fascinating interview. We appreciate you giving all your insights on the different things we've covered, and thank you for coming on the Boardroom.
Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure to see you.
Always. Good luck with whatever's next for the NBA.
Okay. Thanks, Ros. Take care.